In today's video, we're going to talk about the developer mode on Xbox Series X and how to properly set it up for Retroarch. So a ton of new info has come to light on how to really set up the dev mode storage properly here compared to how I did it on the PS2 video and my last dev mode storage update tutorial. Thanks to the advice from Chris Zoen. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I know I probably butchered it, but thanks to their advice, we now can use as much storage in dev mode as we want. We can run dual layer games. So for those of you looking to pick up a series console and just use it purely for emulation, you can now dedicate as much storage to that as you want for running games off of your internal drive. For me personally, I'm still going to use USB just because I'm going to be playing Series X games, but for my testing, you will need to install dual layer games onto the internal drive if you want to run them for Wii or PS2, so I'm leaving myself a little bit of extra storage space just for that purpose. But again, for those of you that want to do purely internal, that option is now available to you. We know how to do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it right now. So before we begin, if you have a Retroarch setup that you are really happy with, you got playlists made, you've got game saves already on it, and just have a lot of things set up and you don't want to have to redo all that work, you can load into My Files Explorer, go to Isolated Storage, click on Packages, go to your Retroarch folder, for me it's this top one here, and then you could go to the local state folder, press Start, copy folder, go to your removable storage device, press Start, and then you can paste it into your USB drive. As you can see, I already did that for mine. It's right here, so I have a complete backup of everything that I've done up to this point on the Series X. And this way, after I set my dev storage size the way I want it, I can reinstall Retroarch, I can reinstall My Files Explorer, and then I could just copy this local state folder back into the Retroarch folder after I launch Retroarch once. This way we don't have to re-download assets, shaders, config files, like we don't have to set anything back up. It's just exactly as it was before, which is just awesome. So to change your dev storage space, all you need to do is press your start button when you're on the dev menu. This will bring up a side tab where you can click Manage Dev Storage. Press A on this and it will bring you to your Manage Dev Storage amount. So by default, it starts with 5 gigabytes. Previously, we thought that you were limited to a 20 gig file size, but now we know that you can go literally as high as you want. It doesn't really matter unless you want to install more Xbox games, because the amount of space you take up here will be taken away from your retail side for Xbox games, so adjust the size accordingly. And another note, you need to have at least 50 gigs free on your retail side to even expand the storage at all, otherwise you are stuck at 5 gigabytes. So for testing, I put mine at 65, but I think I'm actually going to crank this up another 10 gigs to 75, make it a fairly large-ish Xbox Series X game size, and I'm going to click Save. It's going to tell me that doing this is going to delete everything that is on the developer side. That's fine. We are going to do that. We're going to click on Restart, and then we're going to get everything set back up. Now that the Xbox is rebooted, we're going to switch over to our PC and open the Xbox device portal. And we're going to reinstall Retroarch. You can install the official build from the Retroarch website that I have outlined in my original installation video, or you can choose to install the unofficial build that has PCSX2 added in. I'm going to stick with the official build myself, but if you want the unofficial one, I'll have a link in the description below. But anyway, Add, choose File, Retroarch, Next, choose Dependencies, Microsoft VLC Libs, Next, Start. Done. And now that that is installed, we're going to reinstall My Files Explorer as well, so we could get all of our BIOS files put back onto the Xbox a lot easier than using the device portal here. A lot of you have been having issues with that. So adding in My Files Explorer just makes this so much easier. And done. So now a little bonus step for you here, since we just reset everything, and you want to get your PS1, Sega Saturn games, or any other system under the sun that you have a BIOS file for put back in real easily. You could put a flash drive into your computer, and you could copy your BIOS file folder over to your flash drive. And once you have those placed, you could take it out and put it into your Xbox. After your drive's in place, go ahead and run Retroarch real quick. And we're going to take a second to re-update everything real quick. So online updater, update assets. Man, this is like the 17th time I've updated these. It takes so freaking long. Now update the core info files. Controller profiles, databases, and if you plan on using shaders, you could update the Slang shaders. After we update Slang shaders, we're going to change our video driver over to OpenGL, so then we'll come back in here and update the GLSL shaders as well. Once those are done updating, go back to the main menu, press right on your D-pad, press A on drivers, change the video driver from Direct3D 11 to GL. Press B to go back to the main menu, press left on your D-pad, go down to Configuration File, save current configuration, quit Retroarch, and before I forget, press back on your controller, go to View Details, change this from App to Game, and restart the console. Now reboot into Retroarch. From here, press right, go down to Video, go to Scaling, enable integer scaling to give your games that nice sharp presentation. Go down to Input, Hotkeys, and make sure you have a menu toggle gamepad combo. Again, I like to use Start and Select. You can use any of these available options as you see fit. Now back on the Settings tab, go down to User Interface and disable pause content when menu is active and when not active. Now press left, Configuration File, save current configuration. Alright, so Retroarch is now back up and running at optimal settings. So from here, let me give you a little brief demonstration of how to easily move all of your BIOS files from USB onto internal storage. So that way it's a lot easier for you to get these files onto your console rather than having to go through the device portal, because that thing is finicky as none other. So whatever. Quit Retroarch, launch My Files Explorer. And there'll be two folders here. There's removable storage devices and isolated storage. So we're going to go into removable storage devices, removable disk E, find your BIOS folder that you have, so mine's right here, and there's all of your files. So up to this point, I've only covered PS1 and Sega Saturn, and, well, PS2, but I'm not going to put PS2 stuff back on here because I don't have a PS2 core at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy my PS1 BIOS, now go to isolated storage, and it puts you inside My Files Explorer's folder here, which is fine. So click on Packages. And this is really ugly, so click on the three little dots and change it to a list so we can see things easier. Now we're going to go to our Retroarch folder. So for me, it has always been the top one here, just a long string of numbers. If you go into it, you can usually figure out if it's the right one because it'll have all of these folders that you need. So go into local state, and yep, there we go. It's our Retroarch folder. We can see everything that we need right here. But anyway, now go into System, press Start, paste. There we go. My PS1 BIOS is back. Let's get Sega Saturn back. Removable storage devices, E, BIOS files. All right, this one was MPR- whatever nonsense. Press Start. Copy file, isolated storage, same deal, go back to packages, go to your Retroarch folder, local state, system, start, paste. Done. So that's a setup guide if you wanted to start from scratch, but if you backed up your Retroarch folder earlier, you could go into your removable storage device after running Retroarch once. Go in here, you can copy your local state folder, go to isolated storage, click on packages, go into that Retroarch folder, and then you can tell it to paste. Let it copy. This might take a while depending on what you have in there, how many saves you have, how many BIOS files. If you've done the GameCube video, there is quite a lot of time from it copying over all those INI files. So just let this do its thing. Now once that finishes copying, you are going to have two local state folders. So the one you just copied in has this 2 next to it. So what you need to do is press start on the old one, delete it, confirm. Might take it a minute to delete as well. After the old folder is deleted, we're going to press start on the one we just copied in, click rename. And we're going to delete this 2 at the end, so use the right bumper to scroll all the way to the end, and then press X to get rid of it and the space, and then when you're done, press start. And now when you load into Retroarch, you are going to have the same setup that you had when you first backed it up. It's very convenient, takes it a while to copy everything over, unfortunately, but it's just nice to not have to worry about setting everything back up. Now, as an added bonus, I'm going to show you how to move your games into the internal drive properly, so that way you can put any game you want onto the internal drive of your Xbox, and this is mandatory for dual layer games, so any games that are above 4.5 gigs, at least in my experience. Some of you may have had success using dual layer games from USB, I have not, so I have to use my dual layer games using this method. First step, open your Xbox device portal, so put in your Xbox's IP address and just get to this screen as you normally would. Next, we're going to go to File Explorer. Don't worry, we're not actually doing anything with the awful File Explorer in here, it's just part of the process. Over on the right, there is a Browse button, so click on that. It will bring up a set of instructions on how to open up a File Explorer to get into your Xbox, including a File Explorer URL, and a username and a password. If you don't want to have to enter your username and password every time you want to open this File Explorer, you copy this command.exe key down here all the way to the end, including the quotation mark. So right click on this, copy. Now we're going to open up our command prompt, so if you don't know how to do that, you can just click on the search icon if you have one down here, and you can type in cmd, and it'll bring it up. So open that. Now right click with your mouse and it should copy this key if you told it to copy it earlier. So if you haven't, just select it, copy, right click over here to paste, and then press enter. And it will add it to your credentials list. So we're done with command prompt. We don't need that anymore. Now we're going to copy this File Explorer URL. Copy that. Then we're going to need our File Explorer. And so there's a little bar up here. And we're going to paste in that URL. And then press enter. And that will bring us to this folder that has the folder Windows Apps. Double click on this folder. And there will be a couple folders in here. It just depends on what you have installed. So the Retroarch folder that we are going to be using is located here. It says 1.9.00x64. That is typically where your Retroarch folder is. Enter this folder, right click, new folder. You can name this whatever you want. I'm going to name mine games. Can enter it. And now you could just begin copying any games that you happen to have or want to put on internal storage up to the storage limit that you put in. So for me, I'm just interested in putting in dual layer Wii games. So for example, we've got Metroid Prime Trilogy, Metroid Other M, Super Smash Bros., and Xenoblade Chronicles. I have 4 dual layer Wii games at my disposal here. As you can see, I have a combination of compressed ISOs and ISOs. I've had success running both on the Series X version of Retroarch, so it shouldn't matter if you have them compressed or not here. Oh, I also have the last story. So as you can see, that is 32.7 gigs worth of games, well past that 20 gig limit we were running into before. But now that I know which games I'm going to copy, I'm going to go back over here real quick and make a new Wii games folder. I like how I typed out folder. Awesome. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and drag those games into that folder now. So this is a network transfer, so you are going to be limited by the speed of your network. And I also have my Wii games on a mechanical hard drive right now, so I'm pretty much peaking at 100 megabytes a second. But even still, it's not the worst transfer speed you could imagine, so it works out. I'm actually going to cancel it there early because I need to save some of these file transfers for the Wii core video, but I hope that gives you the general idea of what you need to do. Once you have your games transferred and your files restored, you can boot back into Retroarch. And then you can begin replaying your games. And in case you were wondering where to find those games that you just moved to the internal drive, you could go to Load Content, and they will be under the S drive. Program Files, Windows Apps, the Retroarch folder, and Games, and here they are. And this is where you could select them to play them. If you want to get your course set back up to how I had in my original tutorials, I will just refer you back to those. That way I can focus on my new ones rather than going back over those now. But hopefully this will help you all out, get DevMode up and running at its optimal, and that way you just don't run into those storage issues anymore. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below. I will do my best to try to help you out, just like this video was in response to some of the issues y'all have been having with the PS2 core. So just let me know. But now I need all of you to do a huge favor for me. Hit that like or dislike button, just depending how much you like today's video. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button. That way it really helps me out, lets you see when I post new tutorials, and just overall benefits everybody. Alright, but that's going to do it for today's video, so until next time, my wonderful internet peeps, stay awesome, and we'll see you back next video.